my name is Michelle and welcome to Bookish Brits. Today I would like to talk to you about The Princess Diaries by Meg Cabot, which is the November book club choice. Okay, so if you don't know, The Princess Diaries is a book by Meg Cabot, which is the diary of 14-year-old Mia Thermopolis as she's a teenager who's living in New York. She has a best friend named Lily, who has an older brother named Michael. She's got this great cat, Fat Louie. She lives in an apartment with her mother. Her father gets some bad news, and because of his bad news, she finds out that she is actually a princess of Genovia, a small country in Europe, and she really struggles to deal with being a princess. She struggles with her relationship with her best friend because of it. I'm wearing my tiara today in honor of Mia Thermopolis.
I really enjoyed this book. It was the first time that I've ever read it, but I had seen the film when I was younger, but I didn't know that it was a book. Sue me! So yeah, I really enjoyed reading it this time round, and I thought it did really live up to my expectations in that I just thought it would be a really nice, fun, light read. And yeah, I really enjoyed the film, so I was really glad that I also really enjoyed the book. And I think actually, yeah, the book is probably better than the film.
I read this many years ago. I love the series. I've read each of the books in the series, but unfortunately I didn't have time to finish this book. I'm on page 102. There's only 260 pages, 30 pages in the book, so hopefully maybe by the end of today, a few days, I'll finish it. But it was a really fun book to revisit. I absolutely adore Meg Cabot's writing, and I love Mia Thermopolis and this entire story. I loved it. It was very fun to come back to it.
I thought that The Princess Diaries was a really charming, fun, quick, light-hearted read. I love that there was a great moral message there about being yourself and being true to yourself. And I actually got to the end of the book, and yeah, I really want to read the rest of the series. Just trying to work out when I'm going to fit that in.
This is my first time reading The Princess Diaries. I had quite a lot of expectations though, because I've seen the film several times, and I have to say I love the film, I really do. It's probably like one of my top guilty pleasures. I don't feel guilty at all, I just love it. So much so that I kind of subconsciously bought this hat because it reminded me of the one that Mia wears to conceal her new hairstyle. So look, I can do an amazing Mia impression. Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect from the book though, because I'd heard it was quite different. Mia's father is alive in it, and Grandma isn't as nice. Also, it's in book form, so I expected that a lot more would happen that isn't in the film. I was pleasantly surprised by the ending, because something that's rushed a bit in the film isn't in the book series, it appears at all, and that was good. I think it did live up to my expectations, and I actually liked it more than I thought I would. I've read only one book by Meg Cabot before, and although I enjoyed it, I didn't really engage with the narrator. I really liked Mia, and I found it was easier to engage with her narration than it was for me when I read Avalon High.
So I think that Princess Diaries doesn't feel dated at all. I think that the story is so universal that it is just easy to read today and know that it's a really nice story. I would struggle to say that it was a YA fiction. I think it's more of like a middle grade fiction, which actually is where I found it in the library, was in the children's section and not the young adult section. But yeah, I think that it's it's just a nice read, and yeah, just everything's so universal. Oh, I didn't think it felt dated at all. It could have happened today.
I was kind of worried when I first started reading it that this book might be dated, but it surprisingly wasn't. There are a few instances in my copy of the book, and remember I'm only 100 pages in, where they're talking about fancying different boys, and, maybe their choices aren't as current as they could be. But the concept of them, fancying movie stars or musicians or whatever, is something that's going to be universal, whether it's set in 2001 or 2013. So I think the book still holds up really well to that sort of thing. It's about the friendship between two girls. It's about Mia's relationship with both of her parents, her grandmother, finding out about boys, and obviously having this huge transition into becoming a princess, and with that it can be very awkward for her at times, which I loved.
I don't think The Princess Diaries is dated at all. The edition I got out of the library was published in 2007, although it was originally published in the UK in 2001. And it's quite obvious that it's been updated because there's references to things from pop culture in here which would make sense for in 2007 but not in 2001. I think that it's quite easy for the author to change the references and to keep it up to date in that way. It doesn't have any references to mobile phones or social media, which I think is a problem that a lot of recent YA books face. They are going to be dated very quickly now in that way. But I think there's actually a reason for some authors to avoid having social media references where possible, because obviously these things move so fast, and you can put Twitter and Facebook into a book and then find out that 3 years later nobody's using Twitter or Facebook anymore.
The Princess Diaries kind of came across as a bit more middle grade compared to YA today. With regards to whether or not I felt that the book was dated, actually as an older reader I just found the cultural references quite nostalgic. I guess there's a few things like passing notes in class. I mean, do people even do that now? Are you more likely just to have a Facebook thread? I don't know. I'm old. I don't know about these things. I think the reason that people are still enjoying this series of books today is that essentially it's about a young woman who is being thrust out of her comfort zone, out of the world that she knows, into a new environment. So with Princess Diaries, Mia's being introduced to royalty and aristocracy and a new country, but that could easily be starting a new job or a new school or entering into a new relationship. It's all about learning who you are as a person, and well, it's just about becoming an adult, isn't it? So in that sense, I think it's a time coming of age tale.
So I think that, because the characters are so well-rounded and feel real, and, the story is so good. This is why 10 years later, it's still a good read. It's still interesting to read, and I think even, 10 years on in the future, it will still be, as interesting and enjoyable as it was.
And the story that make it a story worth reading 10 years after its original publication date is that strength of relationships, both friendships and between family members and everything else.
The story is one that has quite a wide appeal. Many girls, when they were kids, daydreamed about being a princess, and of course when you're a teenager that's naturally the time when the expectations you had of the world when you were a child meet brutal reality. And so we have Mia, who gets the wish of many little girls. She finds out that she is a princess and she's absolutely horrified by the idea. It's embarrassing, and she gets a lot of attention that she just doesn't want. You know, she wants to go through puberty and grow up in peace. She gets that sort of instant fame, and I think that a lot of teenagers want to be famous, but at the same time they want to feel like they deserve it. You know, they want to be a famous singer because they're really talented or whatever, and obviously Mia doesn't actually have to work for her fame, it's just thrust upon her. And I think this becomes increasingly relevant because obviously nowadays many more teenagers are getting fame, at least in a relatively small way, through social media, because they make YouTube videos, they have a popular blog. Also, it's really funny. I was pleasantly surprised about how funny it was, and Mia has these battles of wills with her parents who are not together, and she has to deal with her mum getting a boyfriend, and her grandmother who's very strict and doesn't share the values that she has. And I think dealing with family and the differences between your family's opinions and yours is something that all teenagers have to deal with. And also problems with friends, you know, falling out with your best friend and really wanting her back, but at the same time wanting to stay true to yourself and to hold your ground. These are really difficult things for teenagers to face, and the Princess Diaries kind of presents them in an amusing, light-hearted sort of way, so that I think reading them, they become less serious in your own life. I think my favourite character was Grandmère. I think she's just ridiculous and harsh and bossy and awful and fabulous all at the same time. She's one of the main antagonists of the story. She wants Mia to behave in a way that Mia isn't comfortable with and it doesn't come naturally to her. Yet at the same time, having Grandmère around turns out to have its advantages for Mia. I also really liked Tina. I thought she was a really interesting character, and I'm hoping we'll get to see more of her in the series.
I have to say that my favourite character was probably Mia. I think she's just such a fun character, and I can sort of see sort of where she's coming from. You know, you have your life and you're happy in your life, and you know, she's a normal average girl, and the last thing she wants is to be a princess. And I just think that she's also so cute and naive and lovely and funny, and she just has this great persona to her, and she was definitely my favourite character in the entire book.
Myracle was my favourite character. I loved the fact that throughout it all he is completely loyal to Mia. He is a friend throughout, and it's just a shame that it takes us so long to realise what a good friend he is. And I particularly love the scene where he stands up to his sister, who is being, quite frankly, unpleasant.
My favourite character, it has to be said, and it's been the entire throughout the series, it's always been Grandmère. I absolutely adore her, and while I do love the Princess Diaries films very much, I think they made Grandmère in the films far too nice in the books. She's so abrasive and mean at times. I love the idea of her having her eyeliner tattooed to her face. I can't imagine, and I really think that she is one of the best characters aside from Mia. Mia grows so much throughout the course of the book that it's hard not to say Mia is my favorite character, but if I'm picking a character besides Mia, it would have to be Grandmère. And one of my favourite scenes in the book that I've read so far has to be when Grandmère asks Mia to write a list of her 10 favourite women. She's looking for strong female role models, and Mia writes this really brilliant list. fictional characters, historical figures. She's put Princess Diana and Hillary Rodham Clinton, which I think is wonderful. But she's also listed a a character from a Lifetime movie, which just makes me laugh. It's written in diary format, so we hear Mia's version of events, and she presents this list of top 10 strong female role models to Grandmère, who obviously reads this list, tears it up and throws it away, and that is a great indication of why I love Mia so much, and also why I love Grandmère so much. I think that if you enjoy books like The Princess Diaries by Meg Cabot, you might also enjoy other books written in a diary format, such as those by Louise Renison, either her Georgia Nicholson series or the Tallulah Casey series, which are both very funny and emotional. I also really recommend the Lottie Biggs series by Haley Long, and also I think the Split by a Kiss and Swapped by a Kiss books by Louisa Playa.
I'm just going to give one series recommendation for this question, because I think otherwise you'll be bombarded with books from everyone else. But I would recommend reading the Geek Girl series by Holly Smale, because it's really interesting, and I just feel like it has the same sort of funny style that you sort of get in The Princess Diaries. And so yeah, and it's also about a girl whose life is changing without her really, well, it's sort of different because she wants it to change, but yeah, I think it's similar. And yeah, I think that people who enjoyed The Princess Diaries would definitely enjoy the Geek Girl series by Holly Smale. So that's everything from me. Bye!
I'm going to recommend these books to everybody, but I think that those people who've enjoyed The Princess Diaries would particularly get a lot out of them, and that is the Geek Girl series. I think that you'd enjoy these books because, much like Mia, you've got a girl who's thrust into an unknown environment, one that's apparently glamorous. She doesn't quite fit in. She is geeky and awkward, just quintessentially like a British character, and she's fumbling around, and you can't help but laugh along with her and cringe with her and identify with her as she's trying to kind of make her way through this kind of elitist, glamorous, weird world that she's found herself in, almost by accident. The second book that I would recommend would be Suddenly Royal by Nicole Chase. This book is a new adult book, so it's for those people who are looking for an older read. It is essentially The Princess Diaries goes new adult, and there's a nice sort of sweet romance there, but again it's still about being true to yourself and kind of discovering who you are in a kind of weird, unusual environment that's been thrust upon you.
Okay, so that's the end of our discussion about The Princess Diaries. If you've read the book, please let us know in comments what you think of it and how you would have answered those questions. Okay, and for December, please come back. We'll be discussing Let It Snow by John Green, Maureen Johnson and Lauren Myracle, and that video will go up on the 24th of December. See you then.